You're listening to the 90 Days Later podcast with Anna Charles, episode 131. Welcome to the 90 Days Later podcast, where I show you how life with less alcohol is more fun than you think. I work with high achievers who struggle to drink a glass of wine without it turning into 2 bottles. I'm the one they call when they want to take it or leave it. So if you want to change your relationship with alcohol that doesn't involve counting days sober, you're in the right place. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. How are you all doing? Now, before I get going with today's episode, I want to check, do you all have your free Crush the Cravings guide? The guide that will tell you the 3 things to do when it feels like you can't say no. You can get yours today at 90dayslater.co/3 things, as in the number 3 things, all one word. It's there for you to use. You can get started right away. Okay, let's get back to the meat of today's podcast, and we are talking thought playlists. This is such fun. Genuinely, this is a lot of fun. Remember, it's one of the heart of my teachings that actually life with less alcohol can be more fun, and the way we get there can be fun too. All right, so here's what we're talking about. What is a thought playlist? Well, you're probably familiar with music playlists, right? These were called mixtapes back in the day. Yes, I'm old enough to remember those. And basically, a playlist is a compilation of all your favorite tunes. You've got a list of top hits that you can listen to again and again and again. And you might have multiple playlists for dinner parties, for out on the run and all the rest of it. I have a playlist which I use for running. In fact, it is my sole playlist. My family tease that I have the worst music taste possible. There's about 4 things I like. In fact, you talk about that concept of if you were stranded on a desert island, what would be the 10 hits you would take, or 10 pieces of music? I'd have no problem with that because it's probably the same 10 pieces that I listen to week after week after week. In any case, you've got a playlist. And when you play your playlist, your music playlist, you can play it from start to finish, or you can shuffle it, right? So you can move the order around. But whichever approach you take, whether you listen to the playlist from start to finish or shuffle it, you know for sure that it's going to be tracks you're familiar with, or tracks you've chosen, or tracks you like, right? You know that, however it's served up for you. It's likely to contain music that you know very well, and it's likely to be a playlist that you can listen to without too much effort because you know it so well, right? It just feels really good. Well, it is a similar thing with our thoughts, but instead of playing a list of songs in our head, it is a list of thoughts. Now, I was inspired to talk about this because of my microwave oven. Yes, my microwave. Please do stay with me. We own an extremely powerful microwave. My husband bought it. He likes all the fancy gadgets, and there you go. That's what we have. It is total overkill. All we ever use it for is to heat up baked beans and make hot milk. Now, I've never really paid attention to microwaves. Most of the time, open the door, put in the cups of milk and just turn the dial a bit and it comes out hot. I did that with ours a couple of times when we first bought it, and it was a disaster, right? Because it's so powerful, the milk would boil over. I'd have this mess I'd have to clear up. Did this a few times, decided I hated the microwave. This wasn't going to work. I wasn't going to risk it. So then I decided instead to use the lower setting, and I have been doing that for years. Now, using the lower setting more than doubles the amount of time it takes to heat the milk. But at least I wasn't failing, right? I wasn't letting the liquid boil over, and I wasn't spending all that time cleaning up the plate thing that it sits on. Last week, I was in a hurry, a big hurry in the morning, and I needed to get the coffee done, so get the milk heated very quickly. Now, when I say I didn't have the time, I probably did have the 2 to 3 extra minutes it would have taken at the lower setting, but I felt that was an unnecessary use of my time. What I needed was to have the milk done faster, which meant using, the higher setting. But then it was so interesting. All my old fears came up about this is going to be a disaster, this isn't going to work, you're going to be spending more time cleaning up. But I coached myself. Yes, people, I coached myself using the microwave. But stay with me. I decided to allow all those fears. And I decided to change my thought from the high setting is too powerful and it's going to be a disaster to the high setting works and it's going to save me time. That thought change got me taking action. I turned it on. I underestimated the amount of time because I didn't want the overspill. And it wasn't a disaster. It came out a little cooler, but it was okay. I had broken my duck. I was willing to do it again the next day, and the next day I finessed it, and now I'm actually a pro at heating the milk on the hot setting. Now, I know this seems like such a small little thing, and it is, but more significantly, that I was held back from taking this action that was going to save me time and actually then using all the features of my microwave by a thought that was filled with fear. And now I wonder why I did that for so long when it was actually the solution was so simple. Now, if you're sitting there wondering why on earth is Anna going on and on about her microwave, it's because of the ubiquity of our thoughts playlist. I played the thought for so many years that it was going to be a disaster to use the powerful setting on the microwave that I never questioned it, really, until I was like, I really don't have the time. It took years to get there. And we have these thoughts playlists that we are playing in our heads from the moment we wake up to the moment when we go to sleep. You're doing this right now. I'm doing it right now. And we're going to continue to do it. It is how we're built. It is how our brains function. So let's learn about it. Now, one of the features I mentioned earlier of a music playlist is, generally speaking, you are the one who chooses the music and you're choosing music that you want to listen to. But unlike a music playlist, our thoughts playlist are often thoughts that we don't choose or wouldn't choose or don't serve us, and they're not thoughts that we would want to think, right? Who wants to go around thinking it's going to be a real struggle at the party tonight because I'm not going to drink the wine, all right? It's not something we would choose to drink, but to think rather, but that's what we're going to be thinking. So what we are thinking in our thoughts playlist are not necessarily our favorite or our chosen thoughts, but our most common ones. Very, very different concepts. And by the way, we're having these common thoughts on repeat for so often of the day. I think it's something like 75% of our thoughts are repeat thoughts. And most of those are negative. I've got the stats somewhere. I mean, it's some horrendous number where it's weighted that way. So it's like, I want you to imagine in your brain on a daily basis, it's like you're playing a playlist of all the songs you don't like the most in the world. So for me, it would be like playing the Beach Boys all day long. Apologize to Beach Boys fans. I am not one of them. And then we up the ante. We don't just go around thinking all the thoughts that don't serve us. So we're not only going around listening to all the tracks we don't like to hear. We do it so frequently, we actually stop hearing it, right? We just stop seeing the thoughts. They kind of all merge into one. It's almost like Muzak, right? It's worse than the Beach Boys for me. It's like that Muzak stuff that it's just all around you. But knowing this is fantastic, because knowing this gives us power and gives us the ability to take control. And that's what we're going to do. Now, you know me. You know I like to give you homework. So here's the first piece of this. I want you to build a list of the thoughts that are on your playlist. Now, you can do this regarding your drinking, or you can just do this throughout the day. I mean, obviously not all day long, but maybe just pick an hour and just sit there and just write out all the stuff you're thinking. Or maybe if you're queuing up in a shop and you're just standing there, not really doing anything, you can have all the thoughts. Pay attention to what you're thinking. This is a life skill. This ability to have awareness of yourself is something that we humans possess. We can think about our thinking. This is immensely powerful. Master this one thing, and you are a long way forward to mastering your drinking. So just try it out for a day. I mean, maybe just pick a day. Going to be thinking about my thoughts. You will forget as the day goes on. You'll get into something. Oh, I meant to be thinking that. Then just go back to it. Maybe again, just take 5 minutes and just write down all the stuff. A really fun, useful way of doing this is we can do this around drinking and have a sheet of paper. by your, if you're working in an office, something on your desk, or you can do this on your phone. And as what tends to happen is from around 3-ish onwards, we start to have the thoughts that we're going to have a drink tonight. Start to record them as you think them. Write them down one after the other. Well, you don't have to show it to anybody. Just start to record it. This is the awareness. This is the engine. This is why when you leave work, you end up having the drink. So just start to understand it. And then look at what are your most commonly thoughts, right? So if this is the Muzak, which are the tracks that you're playing, you really want to, you're really playing again and again and again. And when you do that, there's some questions I want you to ask. So when you look at your most repeat thoughts, are they positive or are they negative? Just start there. Does this matter? You might ask. Yes, it does. And here's why. Let's say some of your top thought hits, right? The top chart hits look something like this. I hate my job. My job is so stressful. I can't believe she said that. People are stupid. I hate that I'm so stuck. I hate that I want to enjoy wine so much. I have so much to do. There's never enough time. I'm bored. I'm fed up. I will never learn, right? If this is the type of stuff you're most commonly thinking about yourself, but you are desperate to change your life, well, this is where the work is. The work lies at the thought level before we get into anything about taking action. Now listen, a few words on this. Commiserating with ourselves on how hard we have it and how miserable we are about this pretends to be therapeutic, but it isn't. Venting about your life and circumstances and everything pretends to be productive. It's not either. All of these activities, all this kind of blaming and complaining and venting, they are indulgent, but more importantly, they're a waste of your time and energy. These thoughts, these sort of negative thoughts, they are what rob you of the happiness that you are craving. They are what keeping you from just feeling better. Now listen, your thoughts are powerful. They really matter because negative thoughts cause negative feelings, which drive negative actions and therefore create more negative results. And this means if you want different results, if you want to take different action, if you want to feel differently, if you want all of that, you've got to change how you think. Now, if you're listening to this and thinking, well, it's easier said than done, Anna, I get it. But what you're currently doing, better yet, what you're currently thinking isn't working, is it? No. And if you were thinking easier said than done, to that point, it actually is easier than you think. My clients tell me this all the time. Yes, to start with, it's a bit more difficult because it's a new skill we're learning, but the more you do it, the better you get. What we often just need, and this is what I'm doing for you on this podcast, and if you do the homework, you'll do for yourself. We're holding up a mirror to yourself. We're showing you the power of your thoughts. This is to help you find new thoughts to think instead and to work with yourself to curate a thought playlist that serves you, right? Just in the same way that you build your music playlist, you have the power to build a thought playlist. So if you currently don't like the results you have, you don't currently like the action you take or the inaction that you might be sitting in or the feelings you're feeling, I want you to ask, is your thought playlist serving you, right? And that comes back to the homework. Start to understand how it shows up for you. It's different for everyone. If you don't like your thought list, are you ready to change it? That's another decision. I can't make you do that. You have to decide. You have to weigh it up and figure out what you want. See where the thoughts are holding you stuck. That thought I had about the microwave, I calculated that in a year, I'm saving 17 hours. It's kind of scary. 17 hours a year through using the more powerful setting and not waiting so long for the milk. And I also, nerd that I can be, I calculated that's a whole 7 days that I was waiting for the milk between the higher setting and the lower setting since we moved into the house. 7 days. What could I have done with that time? Now, I understand it's not quite that straightforward, but you get the point. That was accessible to me. That better result was accessible to me all the time. The thing that held me back was my thought that I wasn't going to do it and the fear that was motivating me. I want you to consider and play with and imagine and think about the huge change in your life that can stem from learning how to treat alcohol as an irrelevance in your life. You can still enjoy it, but it's just not really that relevant. There is no problem having a drink. But when you can think about wine in the same way that you might think about having a slice of cake, sometimes I will, sometimes I won't, or, interchange cake with popcorn, nuts, whatever it is, some other thing that you have occasionally. I want you to think of all the time you are going to save, no longer thinking and agonizing about the wine. Am I going to have it tonight? Am I not? Is there enough? Is there not? Is it too early to ask for a top up or not? How am I going to feel in the morning? Right? And then there's all the hangover time. There's all the missed sleep. All of that time. That's your time. That's your equivalent to my 7 days waiting, for the microwave. Now, this might feel impossible for you to do right now. It might feel impossible to change your relationship with alcohol. But let me end with this. Again, you've heard me say this before. This is just a new skill set you are learning. That is all. I really, really encourage you to think in those terms. This is not some magical witchy thing you're going to have to learn. This is not some character defect we are fixing. We are learning a skill. It's not about changing your personality or controlling the outside world or any of that. It's the skill of learning how to think and feel and act differently. That is all. So there we go. Have some fun with this. What do you want to have on your thought playlist? What thoughts do you want to swap out for other ones? What would you want to be listening to? How different would your life be if you were able to think on repeat the more positive thoughts? And again, to know that that is something that you can start to implement right now. All right, that's it for this week. Do not forget to get your free Crush the Cravings guide, 3 things to do when it feels like you can't say no. There is a link to this in the show notes. Otherwise, it is 90dayslater.co/3, as in the number 3 things. And then I will see you next week. If you like what you're learning in the podcast and you want to take the work further and achieve total freedom around alcohol, let's talk. I help my clients stop reaching for that first glass of wine the moment 6 p.m. rolls around and they don't miss out on life. Email me for more information on anna@90dayslater.co. And if you did enjoy the show, I'd really appreciate if you'd leave a rating and review to help others find the 90 Days Later podcast.